Today we're going to be talking about death in Puss in Boots. You guys wouldn't get this, dude. You wouldn't get him. You wouldn't get him. You just wouldn't. And personally, in my honest opinion, this is one of the best villains we've seen from DreamWorks, hands down. Such a menacing and charismatic force, the show acting as the antagonist, and boy does he do his job goddamn well. Sometimes, like watching throughout the movie, I genuinely wondered if Puss was actually going to genuinely die. And this is something that I will always say that I personally think was done well in this movie. His stage presence was amazing, well executed and well done. Let's start at the bar scene. Basically, after Puss in Boots is told by the doctor that he has one life left, he goes to the bar and he basically reassures himself that he is who he says he is. He's this fearless legend, Puss in Boots, the cat who laughs at the face of death, who fears no man. And then that's when we hear it. This basically conveys to us as the audience that whatever is about to happen next is something otherworldly. With this alone, this shows us that whoever this person is, they just need this alone to convey their presence. And this is also something that they use to play with their food, basically causing confusion and mainly fear. And then that's when Puss sees him, this tall figure sitting right next to him holding a shot glass in his hand with Puss's reflection in it. This basically shows to us in the audience that whoever this person is, he is the one in control of this encounter. This also conveys more how much of a contrast he is to Puss in Boots. Unlike Puss in Boots, he doesn't need the loud and dramatic entry to show who he is and make his presence known to everyone. He talks to Puss as if he's some sort of weird fanboy, but listening to him talk and his tone of voice, something just feels off about it. He describes Puss in Boots' outfit, making sure to keep his eyes solely locked on him, making sure that he doesn't go anywhere, like a wolf basically staring down its prey. After the small talk, he then begins to ask Puss for his autograph, keeping this facade as a fanboy. He then shows our protagonist bounty poster, emphasizing on the dead and alive section, mainly pointing at dead. Because of this, Puss in Boots assumes that this is a bounty hunter, and then begins to get ready for a strife. Through this movie, Puss in Boots consistently talks about his lack of care for death and how much he laughs in the face of it. And then, as he begins the monologue, he draws his weapon and
"Fear me if you dare me."
He's been disarmed, while the wolf just continues to enjoy his drink. He goes into attack again, this so-called bounty hunter, and he dodges all of his attacks made against him, then revealing his weapons being that of sickles. Now, while they can be mainly seen as sickles, they can also be seen as scythes. Slowly but surely as the fight goes on, we're given an idea of the true identity of his foe, even showing us a bit of his personality throughout the battle. The fight goes on until we see Puss in Boots bleed. The invincible cat who laughs in the face of death just shed blood, and he begins to become afraid. But little does Puss know, he just made his foe much stronger.
I just love the smell of fear.
And he begins to see his life flash before his very eyes. He then begins to taunt Puss, and kicking his sword right back to him, telling him to pick it back up. But he doesn't. He folds and runs away like a coward. His persona of being the man, the cat who laughs in the face of death, has been broken, fleeing into the sewers to run away for his life against this powerful foe. And from this encounter alone, this wolf has made himself one of the most infamous antagonists I think I have ever seen from a DreamWorks movie. Puss in Boots has now been kicked off of this pillar that he's built for himself. And now we see as the audience what the main goal of our protagonist is. Puss in Boots needs to face his fears. This encounter was so mentally scarring on Puss that he was willing to retire what he was, his legacy, and just become a regular house cat. If that right there isn't fear, I don't know what is. He was willing to literally give up everything that he had built up for himself, just so this person wouldn't find him. It is only when he hears of the shooting star that can grant one wish for him to get his lives back. That was the only way he could have gotten up out of retirement to be able to actually go back as Puss in Boots. But like a shadow lurking around every corner on his hunt to get to the shooting star, death is always there watching him and constantly on the chase for him. And here's where we see one of the main reasons of the wolf's whistles: to drive fear into his foes. Every single time after this encounter that Puss hears his whistle, he is driven to fear. And you can tell by his fur rising. This is called piloerection. This is something that cats actually do to make themselves look bigger, and it's something in their nervous system that basically just activates their flight or fight response. And we see this happen to Puss again and again every time this wolf finds him and sets his eyes on him. And every time I saw this had me on my seat, and I always was thinking to myself during my first watch of this movie, just thinking to myself, is Puss actually gonna die? At this point in the story, when Puss is looking back at his past lives, mocking him and making fun of him for how much of a coward he is, the wolf finally reveals to us his true identity. And boy oh boy, is he not happy.
You are no bounty hunter. You are death. And I don't mean it metaphorically or rhetorically or poetically or theoretically or in any other fancy way. I'm death. Straight up.
He has a vendetta with Puss for how he's lived his life. Because of the lack of value that he's had for all 8 of his lives, Death is angry with him. And instead of facing him, he runs. But little does Puss know, this only makes Death stronger. Puss cannot face the idea of his legend coming to an end, his story coming to a close. So much so, during one of the times in the stories when he sees Death, he goes into a literal panic attack. As the audience, we know that this is something that he can't run from. No man or cat can escape Death, and he will have to face him, one way or another. In the final scene, Death brings himself out into the open, drives our protagonist's fears into the limelight, and this time, he has nowhere to run. He has to take on Death right here and right now, and his friends cannot help him. The only thing they can do is watch. We will never know what the true purpose of Death coming after Puss was. Maybe he did just want to kill him, or maybe he wanted to teach him a lesson so that he could actually cherish his life. This is just something that we probably will just never get. We won't get it. We just won't. Then, this is when we see it. This is the moment when Puss finally realizes that he has to cherish what he has now and cherish what this life has for him. Seeing all of the people that he can count on, cherish, and love. Once this finally hits him, we get one of the best animated fight scenes ever. And ooh, it's in the Spider-Verse animation style.
I know I can never defeat you, Lobo, but I will never stop fighting for this life.
Puss in Boots here means every word he says, and Death can see it. No amount of intimidation or fear tactics can work on him anymore, and because of this, he curses in a fit of rage, knowing that Puss cherishes his life now, and cherishes his mortality. Thank you for watching. If you're interested in more of these, just tell me down below, and I'll do them. Arigato.
10分くらいで君のとこに着くよ
And I don't mean it metaphorically or rhetorically or poetically or theoretically or any other fancy way. I like men straight up.